my name's Matthew. I'm a discus and hammer thrower. So my start as an athlete was a lot different to a lot of professional athletes at the moment. A lot of them grew up through little athletics and stuff, but I actually started as a footy player. My family was all in footy. All my brothers and stuff. One of my brothers used to play for like Bronco Colts and Canberra Rays and all that sort of stuff. But so I always grew up sort of thinking, play professional footy and stuff like my brother and whatnot. But I got to a point where so I started training for athletics and just doing it for fun. I'd get to state and I would be sort of just doing backyard technique because I was one of those country kids that got given a discus because I was the biggest kid in school, and then sort of just chuck it and see how I went. So I had this sort of backyard technique and rocked up, and actually 2 years in a row I got dead last in discus and shot for 6 and 7. So after that I sort of got a bit sick of it, and I continued on my footy, but grade 8 I actually ended up getting a coach, which is my coach today, Graham Pitt. So I sort of started progressing and whatnot. We started training, and as soon as I got a coach I actually started throwing better. First 2 months of having a coach I ended up going from last in the state to actually coming 4th in discus, and I think it was like 6th in shot and stuff like that, and then going on to nationals. And going on to nationals that year and actually getting 2nd in discus. So my first national medal, and I only had my coach for I think it was a couple of months. So I sort of started off that way and sort of started, I don't know, progressing and whatnot, but still staying in my footy. And when I went to grade 10, I ended up moving to Toowoomba, and not moving, but going to boarding school at Toowoomba Grammar, and started to play a bit of rugby union. But I found in my first 3 games I was sort of that close to getting very badly injured. 3 kids in my grade actually ended up breaking their femurs in the same year. So I sort of looked at it as a bit of a sign saying you could be next. And I looked at it, and I went through a period of probably a month just assessing where I'm at in my athletics, where I'm at footy, and where I sort of want to go in my life. And I'm a bit like Alana. When it came to athletics, I saw the work you put in is what you get in return. So taking the right steps and getting what you want out of it. But when you go to footy, it's sort of, you could put in the hardest work, you could do all the stuff by yourself, but if you rock up and there's a couple of people that just didn't do training and just sort of rocked up once or twice, and they can let the whole team down. So I liked more the aspect of athletics of myself doing what I want, and I'm a very driven person. If I want something, I'm gonna work my butt off to get to it. So I chose that path, and I told my school that I'm not gonna, even though I wasn't there for footy, they wanted me there for footy. I told them no, I'm moving to athletics. I'm gonna stick with athletics, and that's that. And I could tell none of them were very happy with me for a period of 1 or 2 years. I could tell with like my teachers and stuff that would be, because grammar's a bit rugby orientated. So, but in the end, I ended up moving to athletics and started training full time, moving along that road, and straight away in the first 6 months I could see the difference. I started throwing probably 10, 20 metres further, and like that same year in grade 10 I was throwing 69 metres, and at the start of the year I was throwing 59. So I went to 69, I was throwing over 70 in training, stuff like that. So which like for my age was a long way, and I couldn't believe it. And I sort of thought, like, I'm only just building into this, what's going to happen in the next couple of years. And I kept progressing. I started winning national medals and gold medals and stuff, and I sort of started to get on a streak, really building, and then 2013 was my year where everything took off, everything went crazy. I started throwing ridiculous distances and stuff. I went to nationals as 17 years old. I competed in under 18s and under 20s, and I ended up winning 6 gold medals. So I took it out, and I think I threw a few national records and stuff. So that's where everything started to push forward. And that year I had World Youth, and that was my first my international comp, sorry. And I sort of took it as a challenge, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I started throwing, I think I threw, at the start of that year, I threw 67 and a half. So at that time I was world leader by, I think it was 2 or 3 metres. And same with hammer. I sorry, I actually missed that part. Hammer I started when I was when I didn't get till I think it was grade 10, and I started sort of just building up through that way. I didn't do much work on it. I sort of just progressed into it because my coaches all aspects of throws, and then that sort of progressed. And yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention that. And that kept going along with discus. Hammer actually I picked up very, very quickly, and sort of I don't know, had a real knack for it. Just knew how to work the ball and get the ball to actually move fast. And because I have very long limbs, I sort of use that to my ability and my advantage. So I went to nationals, disc, shot, hammer. I've given away a shot now. It's just a fun event, but ended up going to World Youth for discus and hammer. I was ranked first in discus by 2 metres, and hammer I was ranked second by just half a metre. So I went in very sort of publicised and stuff by Australian Athletics and IAAF, so I felt a lot of pressure and whatnot. So when I got there, I sort of everyone's thinking double gold, all this blah blah blah, and so I sort of thought I took it as a challenge, but I also did feel the pressure. I went into the championships in the hammer. It was probably the worst starting point you can have as an international competition. My qualifying rounds, first qualifying rounds I've ever done in my life, and first 2 throws were fouls. So I was absolutely just packing. I was pretty scared, and I was very nervous because I was scared I was going to let my family, friends, and coach down, and everyone that's been sort of watching what I've been doing. Luckily, last throw, got it in, got the auto qual, moved on to the final, but the world leader actually fouled out. So I got to a point where I was in the final, and I was actually, because the world leader fouled out, I was the leader by 4 metres. So I practically had it in the bag with the knot tied, just had to pull the knot down and sort of deliver when I competed. But that didn't go to plan. I didn't throw. A lot of people say like 3rd in the world is very good, and I was happy with that. But in the point that I should have won easily, considering I threw fouls by that much out of the sector, and they were going 84 metres, and the winner threw 79. So it was a very good learning point coming 3rd and not getting the expectations, because I went to sleep that night and I set an alarm actually because I had discus qualifying the next morning in the final that night. I went to sleep that night and I put an alarm on it that said, "You do not lose tomorrow." And I woke up with that sort of mentality. Went to the track. It was very angry and stuff, and sort of went to the track very driven, very focused, and sort of knew that it was there, and I just sort of just get everything done. So went to the qualifying, first throw, bang, auto qual by 7 metres. So and you could see a lot of people were pretty intimidated by that, and so confidence went up, very confident, went to the final, ended up delivering actually, and that was where sort of my career took a really good turn, where I ended up winning the gold medal by 2 metres. So that sort of put my name out there, and that's where people started to follow me, and where I started to really start to think this is where I can really turn my career into something major. So won the gold medal, went home, had a break, got injured. I ended up getting stress fractures in my foot and my lower back, had hot spots and stuff. So sort of brake check as well, sort of making sure that I took the right steps to make sure I didn't get injured and carried on through my career properly. So that happened, and through my career I have learned a lot of lessons. I went on through that period, and I went on to the World Juniors. Same thing, started to compete very, very well, throwing really well, was in the top 3 in the world, all that sort of stuff, and I get to the World Juniors, and this time qualifying for hammer, I went 2 fouls. First throw was 4 metres over the auto qual, but it went out by that much again. And so last throw, had last chance, and I fouled that one as well. So I was out of hammer, and then went on to discus, and I was 2nd in the world at that time, and I should have training throw 4 weeks before the competition. I actually ended up throwing over the world junior record, but sort of didn't exactly transfer that into the competition. So ended up coming fourth at the World Juniors, which is still good, but not what I wanted. Only just off the top 3, and considering last year I was at the World Youth and won it. So it was a very disappointing championship for me, and but I look at World Juniors as a very good lesson for me, as I sort of I progressed really majorly as an athlete, because I sort of looked at that, checked what was wrong, and sort of broke it all down to what happened, and put that into place for the last 12 months that have just gone past since that. And this last 12 months has been the best season that I've had in my entire life. It's better than what I did in 2013, what I've done ever. Which this year I actually ended up coming second at the World University Games, and I'm only 19 at the moment, which is, and for the distances I'm throwing, is very good. So like, this season's been very good, and at the Nationals as well, Open Nationals, I was the youngest ever to win an Open National title in the hammer. So my season this year has really taken off, and sort of, I tried to make World Championships this year. That didn't go to plan. I sort of cut my season because I went 7 months straight of training, travelling and competing. So body just said stop. Didn't throw well. Like, I threw 62.5 metres in terrible conditions at the World University Games, and then came back after having a couple of weeks off trying to qualify, and I couldn't even throw 57. So my body was just sort of telling me, stop, take a break, sleep, catch up on everything, and sort of take focus on what is to come, because I'm only 19, and I think that's what a lot of athletes need to do sometimes, especially at a younger age, is if you're doing well, you need to always realise, because I always forget I'm 19, I always train and compete like I'm up with, say, Julian and Ben. I think I'm their age, I think I should be throwing what they're throwing, but I'm only 19, I need to sort of remember that and take my career sort of as a, I guess, not carefully, but be sensible about it and not go stupid from the get-go and just ruin my career, because I've seen so many people do that, and especially in throws, because throws, I still have 10 years till my peak age happens. So that's where I'm at the moment, and I've sort of I took that, my body being tired as a break, took that as a very good sign, and I've learned a lot again from this season. So for my age, I'm very happy with like what I've done so far, and I've been very fortunate with like support from my school when I was there, my coach, my family. If any of you guys have actually followed what I've done, or any of my videos and stuff, I actually have my own throws area at home. I have a gym, a circle out, literally probably 10, 20 metres out front of my front door. So I'm very fortunate that sense with like support from my family and stuff. So that's where I'm at the moment with my season. Right now we're starting to move into off-season stuff, sort of leading into next year, trying to hopefully qualify for Rio in 2 events, hopefully, if it comes together. But everything's starting to look really well. I'm trying to, because I'm still a junior, I have till 31st of December to get the distances I want and sort of finish well as a junior, because I have some pretty big goals, hopefully by the end of this year. If it works, it'll be great, but if it doesn't, then that's life. So we're sort of on and off between working really hard and trying to take a little bit of a break to throw really well, and that's what we've sort of done now at the moment in the last 2 weeks. But now in the last 3 days I've got sick, so my body just sort of is a bit like that. It works when it wants to, and when it doesn't care. But yeah, that's where I'm at the moment, and so my start of my career has been a bit different to a lot of athletes, but I think having that sort of, because I have 4 brothers and 3 sisters, so I've sort of grown up in a big family, and with all my brothers being very good, I've been grown up to be very competitive, because they're older than me and I wanted to be like them. So yeah, so that's where my season is at the moment. I'm very excited for what's going to happen in the next 6 to 12 months. Hopefully, if my body holds together, I think, like Alana says, you have a lot of highs, but you also have a lot of lows. So I'm trying to sort of hold on to the highs at the moment, but I know in the next 2-3 years there is going to be a very, very big plateau. Hopefully not, but like that's the life of an athlete. So we're trying to take the steps to stay away from that, because like, yeah, we've got to keep trying to progress, but you're always going to have a plateau as an athlete, and you need to find a way to stay away from it as much as possible. So so our training program's changed, and we sort of keep working, and still our main factor of training is safety. So trying to make sure we stay uninjured and stuff, and especially, like I said, I'm 19 and my peak aging is for another 10 years, so I need to sort of just be careful. And like, especially for everyone that's here today, I think you're going to take one thing away from what I've said today, or what I'm going to say today, is always be safe when you're training, especially in throws. A lot of people have the philosophy of lift massive, you got to put everything on your back of your shoulders and lift as heavy as you can, but it's not the fact. Till last year, I didn't put on anything over 100 kilos on the bar. Everything was speed work, everything was working, making sure everything moved fast. So at the moment now, I'm starting to build up, but that's because from the start I had a big base, and then it's held on through that way. So yeah, one thing to take away is be safe, and make sure when you're training you take the right steps and make sure you're doing the things correctly, because one philosophy that we have is you can make 100,000 hours to create an athlete, or even more, 1 million hours, but it takes 1 second to break them. 1 second. You can make one little mistake when you're squatting or throwing or whatever it is, just in life, and your career's over. You're done. So that's just one thing I want you guys to take away, is just be careful and make sure you do the right things, because say putting that extra 10 kilos on, you think you might make it a massive gain, but you're better off staying away from that and building up and make sure that you are perfectly ready to go up that 10 kilos or 1 kilo off that. So yeah, but anyway, yeah, hopefully that sort of gives you an insight to where I've sort of come from and where I'm at the moment. Yeah, any questions? Yep.
Did you get a uni scholarship to do drama, or?
No, it was sort of, the discussion was mainly athletics, but they wanted me there. I could tell they wanted me there for rugby, because I sort of had that year before, I had a very good rugby league season. I was playing very well, and then broke my collarbone. So, and then they sort of saw that and they heard word, and that was sort of just after we said I was going. But yeah, you could tell they wanted me there for league, but then as soon as I sort of told them no athletics, they tried to sort of pull it on me a little bit, but they knew I was there for athletics, and that was sort of the main reason. So, yep.
For how long and how often do you train?
So at the moment, because we're in off season, my main week is, lifting is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and rest on Wednesday, and the other alternating days are throws. Mainly, good solid session for me is about 2 hours. I do have a tendency once a month, or maybe like once every few months. I don't know why I do it. It's just like habit in my head. I end up sometimes just forgetting what the time is, and just do large amounts of work, sort of to make my body go down in that slump. So when I come out of it, I actually explode out of it. So I could sometimes go up to 4 to 5 hours just going straight. But an average session is 1.5 to 2 hours. So, yep.
It seems with throws, the biggest thing is fouling out.
Yep.
Do you find there's something that happens with you that leads you into, say, those 2 fouls, and how do you get yourself out of it so you have a decent throw?
Yeah, I went through a period of where my head was sort of like not as confident, and I started to hammer was my main problem. Was when I was releasing and stuff, I was not finishing the throw, and I was very timid because I was getting so much power on the ball. By the time I finished, everything sort of went off, and like I could hit it at home and I'd throw massive straight down the middle every time, but when it came to comp, you sort of get a bit scared and sort of change things. But I sort of went to a sports psych at one point and we sort of discussed it, and the main thing for me was actually thinking about it. If you think about actually hitting the cage, you will hit the cage, and that was I look back on every time that I actually threw into the cage. Every time I was like, oh, don't hit the cage, don't hit the cage. But as soon as you say don't hit the cage, you will hit the cage. So you need to, the main thing to focus on, and that's for any athlete, especially when it comes to technical events, like throws and pole vault and most of the field events, is you have to focus on the process before the outcome comes out, because that's the only process that you can control. So say for throws, getting everything in the right position, getting rhythm right and whatnot, that's what's going to actually make the difference of not being scared of what's happening. That's what's happened like this year when I went to World University Games. A lot of my stuff has been first throw. First throw isn't always as good, and this season sort of, because I've done so many comps, I've just done it so many times, and it's just repetitive, it's in my head, I don't need to think about it anymore. And when I went to first throw, just bang, went straight out, went hard out at it, threw it, smashed it first throw, and intimidated everyone else because I was the first person over 60. But it was sort of more of a fact of actually getting my head together and being confident. It's more repetition and creating a routine. Having a routine and having something set before I walk. Like if you watch me throw, every time before I walk in a circle, I do the exact same thing. By the time I grab the discus, by the time I get into the circle and throw, it's always the exact same thing. So that's sort of what I've done to stay away from fouling and all those sorts of things, is just having that set plan, and your body just sort of. I do one thing when I'm in the circle, is just before I go into the circle, you always see my left foot taps twice. And it's just little things like that that makes your head just click in and say, all right, you're about to throw, make sure you do these things right and everything will be fine. So.